Good morning and welcome to the Porch. Glad to have you guys here this morning. Just got back from a 2-day camp trip. Boy, it was very relaxing for the mind. I almost ashamed to admit it, but I spent just a whole lot of hours just sitting and watching a campfire burn. But sometimes that's not wasted time. That can be the mental medicine that you need at times. And in this case, I enjoyed it as such. So anyway, I want to get to the point of this particular video. As you guys know, we always try to do a video for motivation and inspiration and that sort of thing. So appreciate you guys again listening, and we're just going to go ahead and get started. Now, we're going to be talking about consistency and the value in that. And sometimes, well, as an old man, the way you get your point across, at times you just tell stories, and I'm kind of one of those guys. I like to tell stories to get my point across. It's been several years ago now, but I'd gone to work for a company, and I ended up in a certain department, and getting started to work there, I was just working as manual labor, producing product. And anyway, when I came into that company, one of the things they told me, they said, now this department never makes money. It's just a necessary evil that you have to have producing this type of product for the world. And we were selling product all over the world. I thought that was kind of an off statement for somebody to make, especially a manager. And I didn't say anything, but I'd been around this business for many, many years off and on. And I just, talking about it not making money just really didn't make sense to me. But again, I didn't say anything. I just went to work on the job, and I just wanted to do the labor and enjoy life. I wasn't in any hurry for anything. I wasn't looking for a management position or anything like that. Just wanted to work. Long and short of it is, they had a young fellow there, and he was in his mid-20s, I guess, and I was at that time in my mid-40s. And I went to working on product, and they'd all told me, said, now that guy right there, you'll never keep up with him. He's twice as fast as anybody in here. And didn't matter to me, because I wasn't in there to compete. I was just in there to work and make money, and that was all I was there for. But anyway, after, it's probably 2 or 3 weeks, I was actually producing twice as much as this young fellow was. And he was kind of proud of wearing the crown of being the fastest guy in there. Well, long and short of it is, one day he came over to my workstation, and he was mad. And I didn't quite understand it until he started talking. But he said, I don't understand you. And I said, well, what is it you don't understand, son? He said, I work twice as hard and twice as fast as you, but he said, you're still producing 2 pieces of product to my 1. Well, for one thing, he wasn't working or producing twice as much as me. I was producing twice as much as him. And he said, you're an old man. He said, you shouldn't be able to do that. And he said, I look over and watch you. And he said, I can't figure it out. He said, you don't look like you're hardly moving. And I just laughed, and I tried to explain to him the value of consistency. Now, I'd watched him do product. He'd grab it, and he never produced anything twice the same way. And I'm going to say probably close to half of what he produced had to come back and be redone again. He was fast the first time, but if you have to redo it, I don't know that you're all that fast. But he was very inconsistent. Every time he picked up something, he'd do it a different way. Well, what happened is he was turning faulty product because it's inconsistent, and you never could tell where the fault would be until you got it further down the line. Then you have to bring it back and do it over again. But anyway, that's where we started at. And it wasn't long till I had gotten a promotion. It wasn't a big promotion, but it's a couple of dollars an hour more than what I was making. And I took the promotion and just kept doing the consistent work that I was doing. I'd learned the value of consistency years ago, and I just used that. And of course, they seen that. They couldn't understand what I was doing, but they thought, well, let's promote this guy. He's good at what he does. So anyway, I received that promotion. Then I received another promotion, and it just continued on. I think I received 3 promotions, and one of those promotions ended up managing that department. Now, once we got into a management position, which we weren't looking for, it just happens, when you're consistent and do good work. I started working with everybody there, and I pulled them over to one side there, and I said, okay, I said, everybody's doing things different. I said, let's figure out who is doing it the best way. And so we actually ran a few tests. We'd put a couple of guys together and let them work and see what the product looked like, how fast they got it done. And what we were looking for a reasonable speed, not a super fast speed, but we were looking for a good product. We didn't want to do it twice. And I talked to these guys about that, told them the disadvantages of producing something and having to bring it right back and do it again. Now, I'll quickly say this. There was times that this return product would get all the way out in the field, and it could cost tens of thousands of dollars if it did that. And it did it several times, actually. But anyway, I talked to them about all that and the cost of it and why it was important that we learn to do things the same way, all of us, and do it consistently. And so they worked with me, and it ended up being a good crew, and it's a fairly large crew. So we would pick out the best way, and the rule was that you couldn't change it on your own. The whole team had to be involved in any change in the way we produced things, any change in our procedures. And if somebody found a better way, which quite often they did, and they'd come to me and they'd say, hey, I got a new way of doing this. Okay, let's take it out there and try it and test it and measure it and see if it'll work. And then we'd make that a part of the consistent process. Now, as we went along, that department that was a necessary evil didn't just stay a necessary evil. It became a very thriving and money-making part of this company, to the point that later on they actually advanced me to one of the top managers in that company eventually. And when I say eventually, a couple of years. But anyway, and I say that not to brag on who I am or what I did, because I didn't do that without those people working with me and helping me. I did that so that you could see what the value of consistency is. It's success. That's the value of consistency. So anyway, we developed ways that just made us lots of money. I remember one of the guys coming to me, and he sat down in my office. He said, when you first took over this position as management, he said, I just hated you. He said, I just knew you were going to make us work harder. And he said, I work half as hard as I used to work and make more money now, because I got more money for the whole department. I got them all raises because I could show that the company or at the department in that company had value to the company, and the people that are in there had value. So I was able to get them all raises. Well, eventually I ended up, like I said, getting promoted toward the top run of the ladder. But the thing about it is this right here. And I made a few notes. I want to read you a couple of things here. For one thing is, consistency is the key to having a reliable and measurable outcome. Consistency can build trust in a relationship, and positive consistency will always produce desired results. Now, I want to touch on all this stuff just a little bit here. This video may be a little bit lengthy, but it's this thing has value to it. It'll change your success in your life. So whenever you talk about consistency in a company, I've just explained to you how that works, and it worked real well. We were extremely successful. We weren't just a little successful. It was a very, very good success story to tell. And there's a lot more detail than I'm telling right now. But with that said, I'm going to go move on to consistency in relationship. Now, have you ever had a relationship to where somebody would tell you, I'll be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they'd show up 8:15, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and they'd do that all the time? They were inconsistent. And what happens, and if you'll think about this is true what I'm about to say. What happens is you start to distrust that person. You don't trust anything they say after a while. You're just like, well, he's never done anything he told me to. He's told me to be here at a certain time 100 times and never has shown up. Well, eventually, you'll end up being forced to end that relationship because it just doesn't produce anything but frustration and aggravation. And I would say to you, if you're one of those people that show up late or don't do what you say, tell somebody you'll do something, then you don't do it, eventually your relationship with people outside of you will deteriorate and break down, and you won't have it. There's no saying, whatever you don't respect, you'll lose. And if you're inconsistent in your word and what you tell people, what happens is you'll just destroy relationships, not only with them, but they'll tell other people about it, and you'll destroy relationships with other people or opportunities. So just remember, relationship consistency is important. Do what you tell people you'll do. Show up on time. Show up when you say you'll show up. Now, let me read you guys another one. Positive consistency will always produce desired results. Let me give you an illustration. If you decide you're going to lose weight, for instance, and you say, okay, I'm going to lose weight, and you say, I'm going to eat less, I'm going to eat the right foods, and I'm going to go to the gym or walk, whatever that might be. And you do that for about 2 weeks and you lose 4 or 5 pounds, which you can do pretty quick. And then you said, well, I'm not going to get up and walk this morning. And you know what? I'm going to go buy me a half-gallon ice cream. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up front, that's my Achilles heel, ice cream. But I do measure that. I'm a little more consistent than I was in the past. But anyway, you take off down another road rather than the road that you said you were going to go on, and you become inconsistent. Well, your results are going to become inconsistent. You're not going to lose the weight that you want to lose. You're not going to get the desired effects that you want to get. And it's important to be consistent in anything you decide to do, because success, I'll just tell you, success doesn't come without consistency. Now, I want to share one other thing with you here about consistency. I would like to tell you that if you'll just be consistent for a little while, it'll pay off, but that's just simply not true. I've been watching some videos on some people that have lost, 1, 2, and sometimes 300-400 pounds. They stay consistent in what they do for sometimes 1 to 3 years, but some of them are alive today because they stayed consistent. But they're not only just alive, they're living a life they've never dreamed of. It'll almost make you tear up to hear their stories. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is patience. It's not just consistency, it's patience. And one of these days we're going to talk a little more about patience. But don't say, well, I'm going to do a certain thing and I'm going to do it in 2 weeks. That's something that takes 3 or 4 months. Don't try to put a time period on it that's unreasonable, because what happens if you do that, you just get disappointed in the things. I'm doing some things right now that I have a 2-year goal set out. Now, I'll be honest with you, I would like for it to go a lot faster than that, but I've been reasonable in the expectations that I set. I want to set reasonable expectations. Now, there's several short-term goals in those 2-year-long goals that I'll reach, of course, quicker. But just remember, be patient. Above all, be consistent, because it's pretty much a guarantee that if you don't keep heading down the same road, the same path, consistent, you will never get where you're going. You will never know the success that really is available to you. So many people in life, and I'm going to close with this, but so many people in life, they look around and they say, how did I get here? This is not where I wanted to go. Well, I'll tell you how they got there. They weren't consistent. Now, sometimes they made wrong decisions, and if you make a wrong decision, then you need to turn around and go in another direction. But don't just stop because it's not happening fast. Stay consistent until you get where you want to go. All right, guys, as always, I appreciate you guys listening to these videos. I hope in some way that I've helped you guys, that you take something away from this and have success in your life, because more than anything, we here on the porch want for you is we want success in your life. All right, going to close this video out, guys. Love you guys and have a blessed day.